So let me start sharing my screen. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, Nandini.
Okay, all right, thanks. So I'll take a minute to introduce RISE. So RISE is a reboot, invest, scale, and empower yourself. It's an initiative from Women Who Code, Hyderabad chapter. And it is, I mean, all initiatives taken by Women Who Code is basically to inspire women to excel in technology career. So as part of that, they want more women to come back to work after their career break. So this basically enables women on a career break to return to work. So why to create a world where diverse women are better represented as engineers and tech leaders. So and this Women Who Code has a code of conduct, and it does not tolerate any of any form. And also all of us would get an equal opportunity to participate or volunteer in this, irrespective of our demographic characteristics, physical appearance, political affiliation, or preferred programming language. All of us are equally eligible to participate. So please feel free to read the full version of our code of conduct at womenwhocode.com/code of conduct. I will hand it over to our trainer today, Satya. Satya, thank you for taking time over the weekend to cover the session which we were not able to here. Thanks a lot, Satya. You over to you.
Thank you, Nandini. Sharing my screen, let me know if you're able to see.
Yeah, we can see the Zoom site.
Thank you. Yeah, in previous servlet session, we discussed about servlet life cycle and stateless and stateful web application, and how to make a web application as stateful by using different concepts like hidden fields, cookies, sessions, and we have seen some scope of application like servlet config, servlet context. So I think, Kaveri, you remember those concepts. So JSP is extension of servlet technology. So any questions on servlets and previous sessions we discussed?
No, Satya, very clear on servlets, whatever you have taught.
Okay.
Like,
And
we need to dig more, for the interviews, or like, is it enough to prepare at least the overviews, what is what? Satya?
yes, Kaveri.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll complete session today, and then we'll discuss about those things later.
Okay, sure.
In the interest of time. Yeah. So we decided to talk about MVC also in this session, right? So first I'll explain what is MVC and how we implement MVC in web application. Then I'll come to JSP part, how we use JSPs in web application. So what is the contribution of JSPs in MVC? So we discuss these things. Okay. So basically, what is MVC? So MVC is a design pattern. Okay. So MVC is a design pattern which segregate the responsibilities of application. Okay. So in any typical web application, so we do have different components like a model, view, and controller. Okay. So model, view, and controller.
Okay.
So basically, whatever we see in the web browser, that part is comes under view part. Okay, in the previous session, we have seen some HTML pages, right? So if you see my screen, here I have a sample form with the name and password and login button. So basically there are some text box along the label and some button. So whatever I can see here, this part comes under view part. Okay. So whatever we can see on the web browser, that part comes under view part. So after submitting username and password, what I do, I'll click on login button. Okay. So when I click on login button, what should happen at the background? My application should read the username and password, and it has to perform some business logic, whether the user is a valid user or not, right?
Okay. Yes.
So that part is comes under business logic. Okay. That logic we can call as a model. So in MVC architecture, so whatever the business logic we implement, that business logic we can call as a model.
Okay.
Okay. And after clicking, if you see the screen, what I'm doing, I'm just submitting username and password. I'm just clicking on login button. So after clicking on the login button at the back end, something is happened. And after successful login, again, it is displaying some message. Again, it is coming back to view part, right?
Okay.
So,
Yes.
so there is some controller which takes the input from the user and it will process something and it will process, forward some information to the controller, not controller, to the model, where exactly we do the business logic. After successful or failure execution of the business logic, again it has to send some information to the information back to the browser, right? So in this case, username and password both were valid and the user is authenticated, then it displays some information here. Welcome to JSP programming, something like that. So who is taking the responsibility of controlling this transmission? That is nothing but controller.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So whatever we see in the browser, that is comes under view part, and whatever we execute, so that comes under model. The component which controls this transmission is called controller. Okay, so in this case, what is happening? This controller, this will read information from the browser or the view, and then it will transmit that information to the model, and this model, it will execute the code business logic and identifies whether it is a valid information or not. So for the validation, it may use different components like database or LDAP. It can use anything. So based on the business requirement, so the model can be anything. Okay. And after successful execution of our logic, our business logic, whether it is a success or failure, the model will return that information to the controller. Again, this controller send back the response to the browser. Again, it will send the information back to the viewer. This is how a typical MVC works. Okay, so we have different frameworks which implement this MVC in different format. So if you take a Struts application, Struts framework, in Struts there is a component called action mapping. Struts config.xml. Basically, that is the XML file which defines entire MVC. So in the action mapping, for which action, which business logic has to execute, that we define in struts config.xml. And if you take Spring Framework, so there we have some home controller, something like that. So basically, that controller will take care of transmission of data between view and model. Okay, so those are very high level frameworks that is not in our scope at this moment. So the basic structure of MVC is something like this. So any questions on this part, Kaveri?
No doubt in this part. I just want have one thing is that we here we have the. I mean, I understand that we use JSP, servlets, HTML, for the UI part. Other
Right.
than that, as a component, what can be used like Flex?
Uh, Flex, no, Kaveri. Basically, that would change depending on the framework. Okay, if it is a Spring framework, definitely the controller would be a servlet, and the modal part is a Java Beans or Java programs.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
asking.
this
I'm asking about the view.
view can be anything. In servlet technology, basically we use JSPs, HTMLs, and if maybe we can use some scripting languages like JavaScript, some other scripting languages also. Basically, we use scripting languages for validations, and to present some interactive
Yeah,
user interface components, something
I,
like that.
I I have a doubt, like other than JSP, other than JSP servlets, what else can be used? Like there will be some predefined components, right, available. Here we
Yes.
need to write for that, but there will be some components available, like what we do in .NET and all.
So .NET application is completely different from Java, right? So we can't integrate Java application with .NET.
No, I'm not asking about like integrating .NET with Java. I'm just asking like any other scripting languages, no, other than scripting languages, the view for the view, how to implement that, with some other, is there any other ways?
Yeah, any UA component that will support with this servlet technology. So, but most of the enterprises prefer this combination only, JSPs and HTML. But other scripting languages, the scripting languages are also supported by this Java technology. So basically, Java is a platform independent, right? So it should work with any technology, as it is a platform independent.
Yeah, I don't have doubt on the model part, but in the view alone, I just have a doubt whether we can use any other thing like designing the web page. We can place the all the controllers by ourselves.
Yes, you
Like
can use anything. The concept is same, right? Whenever you click on the submit button, the request should go to the servlet, right? So in the action part, you have to define the servlet.
that's what I just have. I'm just having a doubt like what all can be used.
Uh, I'm not sure on that part, Kaveri. Maybe I
Okay.
need to check that one. But when we implement application in servlet, I mean Java technology, so 90% of the organization use servlet and HTML, JSPs.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Okay, and I will discuss this thing using a sample web application. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. See, here I defined some application with some form. So basically, I have one login.jsp. Okay, so in login.jsp, simply I have defined only one form, that is login form. Okay, here I'm using method post method, and action. Whenever I click on submit button, it has to call login servlet. Okay, and in this form I have two fields, two text fields. One is for username and the one is password. So whenever I click on this login button, what happened in the background? So it will call login servlet, right? So I already defined login servlet. So this is the logic of my login servlet. So here uh, I'm implementing do post method because I'm transmitting some confidential information like username and password. So that's why I'm using do post method. So if I use do get method, what happened? So whatever the information I'm transmitting, that would be added to query string. It would be exposed to the end user. So I don't want to expose that information. So I am using do post method here. So I have few lines in do post. So to transmit any data to the client, basically we need to use response object, and on the response object, I'm setting the content type, and using get writer, we can create a stream on response objects. So print writer is the stream you are using here, and using requested get parameter, we can read form information. The same thing I'm doing here, requested get parameter, username and password. Okay, and using session object, I'm setting the session information. I'm adding this username and password to the session. And here I have added some business logic. Okay, if the password p dot equals ignore case, it is if it is Satya123. So I am concluding this is a valid request. Okay, if the password is Satya123, so then I'm identifying this user is a valid user. If the password is not Satya123, so what I'm displaying, I'm trying to display sorry, username and password error. And again, I want to display login page. Okay, so for this thing, if you observe, I have written some new code here. So up to this part, we discussed in previous session, but here within this if loop, I have written some different logic.
Yes.
I'm using request dispatcher. Did you observe this, Kaveri?
Yes, Satya.
Yes. So request dispatcher, basically the request, we haven't discussed this part in previous session. So suppose if you want to execute one servlet or another servlet or JSP within one servlet, so we'll use request dispatcher. So the responsibility of request dispatcher is to transmitting the control to another servlet or JSP. Okay, so for that reason, I defined request dispatcher. I'm calling this request dispatcher and request object. Okay, so request dispatcher dot get request dispatcher. For this method, I'm passing the target JSP or servlet. So here I have added JSP. So if you want to use servlet, you can define something like this. So in request get request dispatcher, you can add URL pattern of the servlet. Okay. So in this case, I want to transmit this request to JSP. That's why I'm using JSP, welcome.jsp. And I'm calling rd.forward. And if it is a success, rd.forward. So if it is failure, rd.include. I'll explain the differences between these two. Okay.
Okay.
So to dispatch the request from one servlet to another servlet or one JSP to another JSP, which object we use? That is request dispatcher. This request dispatcher supports two types of methods. One is forward and the one is include. So first I'll run this application, then I'll explain what is the difference between these two. Okay, forward and include. So I'm not talking about any JSPs here. Just I'm explaining the flow. Okay, how to use request dispatcher and how it works, how this MVC works. I'm explaining that thing only. I'm not explaining JSP part. We'll go to JSP part in a little while. See, when I open this application, by default, I'm getting form, login form. So here I'm passing username. Actually, if the password is Satya123, it is a valid password. If you transmit, if you enter anything apart from Satya123, obviously it is a invalid request. first I'll send a valid request. See, as I send a valid request, what is happening here? So it is identified this request as a valid information, and it executed welcome.jsp. Okay, in welcome.jsp we have written something. So welcome to JSP and followed by the username. Okay, I'll explain this part in a little while. Just focus on the transmission or flow. So in this case, I'm sending some invalid password. See what is saying? Sorry, username or password error. And again, it is displaying the form. Okay, so where we added this information, see. So if the user is not valid user, what it has to do? It has to print, sorry, username and password error, and then it is calling request dispatcher. So as part of the request dispatcher, again, we are passing login.jsp, and here we used rd.include. Did you get what happened here, Kaveri?
Yes, Satya.
Can you explain what you understood from this?
So when the password is matching, whatever we are giving, the request dispatcher will dispatch the request to the welcome.jsp, and the login is success. So we use forward for that. And when the password is incorrect, the request dispatcher will divert the thing to login.jsp along with the error message.
Right. Yes. So in this case, when we send invalid username and password, so it is executing login servlet. So again, within the same login servlet, again, it is executing other servlet, other JSP, that is login.jsp. So where we have added this error message in login servlet. And this login.jsp is different application, different servlet, different JSP, but where it is executed
in the login servlet.
Yes, in the login servlet. So as we used request dispatcher dot include, what is happening? It is merging both the servlet. So JSP is nothing but a servlet. That's why I'm calling servlet. Okay. So when we used include method, so it is executing both the servlet in a single page. But in previous case, it is dispatched the information. I mean, it is dispatched the request to welcome.jsp. So in this case, what happened? Whatever the request and response objects we are sending, that would be transmitted to welcome.jsp. Okay. Again, that request won't come back to the login servlet. But in this case, it will include. That means it will execute request and response objects within the same servlet, login servlet. But in previous case, both request and response, this would be forwarded to welcome.jsp. After successful execution, again, no need to return these objects to login.servlet. But in this case,
so the request came from the login.jsp only. So again, it is going back to login.jsp.
JSP, right? Correct.
Okay.
Okay, now you got the differences, right?
So from the login.jsp, it is going to login servlet. In that, we are checking for the password. And if it is success, it is going to a different servlet. Otherwise, it is redirecting to the older one.
Yeah. So this is our login form. Okay, this is login servlet. Whenever we click on submit button, so this JSP will call login servlet. Within this login servlet, what we are doing, we are using request dispatcher, right? So if this rt.forward, we are passing request and response. Include. Again, to this subject, we are passing request and response. So in this case, it is welcome JSP. And in this case, it is again login.jsp.
As include is for including the error message, or even if you are not returning any error message, it goes to, I mean, we need to use include.
So not only for error message, depending on your business requirement, you can send any message.
No, like I'm not asking like message. I'm not asking very keen on the message. I'm asking like whether we, even if we are not returning any error message also, we just use the include method.
Yes, you can use. If you want to execute both the servlets in the same page, in that case, you can use include.
Now what I got is like, if suppose we wanted to do in the same servlet page, then we need to use include.
Right.
Okay. If it is
That's why
going from, okay.
I want to explain the same thing. That's why I'm drawing this diagram.
Okay.
Okay. See, in this case, so whenever you click on login button, what is happening? The request is coming to login servlet. So in the login servlet, if it is a valid request, if the valid username and password, so we are calling request dispatcher.forward request and response. So in this case, this request will be transmitted to welcome.jsp. Okay, this welcome.jsp will be executed. In this case, it is forwarding request and response to welcome.jsp. That means the control is going to welcome.jsp. Again, the control won't come back to login.servlet. Sorry, login servlet. Okay, because here we are using rd.forward. In this case, in this business case, so once the user is successful, again, no need to execute this login servlet, right?
Okay. Okay.
So when the user is authenticated one, what is the use of executing login servlet again? Not required.
Yes.
Right? So that's
Yeah.
why I'm forwarding the request to welcome.jsp. From welcome.jsp, I'll handle business logic separately.
Okay.
But coming to this case, in this case, here authentication is failed. Authentication is failed. This is not a valid user. So in this case, I want to give user another option to pass valid username and password. Okay. When the user sent valid username and password, then I can take the control to welcome.jsp. But as the user authentication is failed, again, I need to execute this login servlet, right?
Yes. So here, can we handle like some apps will have this logic, right? After three failure logins, the sometimes our password, our username will get revoked, something like that. So can we check those logics in the login servlet? Like 3 times we can forward, and then after three failures, then we can send that message, something like that. Satya?
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. Am I audible now?
Yeah,
So where I lost?
I was actually asking a question. So in
Okay.
some apps and all, it'll ask like 3 successful logins, right? Sorry, three attempts it'll ask, right? After 3 attempts,
Right.
our username will get revoked, something like that. We'll get message. So
Right.
can we handle those logics in the login servlet? Like how many times it has been called?
Yes, we track that information in login servlet
Okay.
because so for 3 failure submission, so for every time it has to execute login servlet, right?
Yes.
So we can maintain a tracker within login servlet. So based on the count, tracker count, we can disable the user in database or LDAP. That business logic we can write.
Okay.
Okay. So in this case, so whenever user send a invalid credentials, again I have a requirement to execute login servlet, right? That's why I'm including login.jsp within the same login servlet.
Okay.
But previous case, after successful authentication, no need to execute this login servlet.
Okay.
So if we have any business requirement, something like this, if you want to execute the same servlet, so in that case, you can use include, request dispatcher dot include.
Okay.
If you don't want to execute the same servlet again, instead of calling include, you can directly call forward, request dispatcher dot forward.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes.
See, so few minutes back, we were talking about MVC, right? So in this case, which one is view part, which one is controller part, and which one is model part? Can you tell me?
This login.jsp, welcome.jsp is view part. Login servlet is controller.
Hmm.
And model part is, I don't know.
Okay. See, as you mentioned, login.jsp is view part, and welcome.jsp again it is view part. So this servlet, login servlet, is acting as a controller because it is taking the request from JSP and it is controlling the response. If it is a valid request, so it is transmitting. I mean, again, it is displaying welcome.jsp. If it is an invalid request, again the control is coming back to login.jsp. Basically, this login servlet, it is controlling the entire flow. So that's why we are calling this login servlet as a controller. But as it is a simple application, what we are doing in the same servlet, we are adding some business logic.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Within the same servlet, we added business logic. So where we are identifying whether it is a valid user or invalid user
Inside the servlet. Yeah.
inside the servlet only, right?
Yes.
So in this case, the login servlet, it is acting as a both controller and model.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So this is the initial version of MVC. We'll call it as a model 1, MVC 1 model. So in MVC 1 model, the same servlet will act as both controller and model.
Okay.
But this is not a typical flow at the typical design. So obviously, we should have different classes to execute the business logic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for that, what we do, we instead of adding business logic with the same servlet, so we'll add different classes to do business logic. But the servlet should act as a controller. It should not act as a model. Okay. So for this one, what we do, we define one model class. So in this case, I have added one separate class, user. So basically, it is a Java bin.
You're not able to see your screen. Are you sharing your screen?
That is visible. Are you able to see now?
Yes, Satya.
So here I have defined one Java class, user.java. So basically it is a Java bin. So here I'm adding some business logic. Click void. So validate user is my method name. So for this method, I'm passing both username and password. Actually, we have added this business logic within the servlet, right? Now I'm moving out this business logic to user.java. See, in this case, I'm using some different class. Now this class is a model. Okay. So within this user class, I'm adding some business logic to validate the user. Okay. As it is simple application, I'm hard coding the values. If it is a typical or enterprise application, what you have to do based on your business application, you have to add the code related to that application. If it is a database, if you are using to authenticate or to verify the user information, you should add some JDBC logic to verify the user information in database. Okay. In this case, it is a simple application. I'm directly hard coding the values here. Okay. See. Now I have a model that is user. So I'm getting the instance of my model object. Okay.
Okay.
Now I need to authenticate the user, right? So to authenticate the user, I'm calling validate user. Okay. For this validate user, I'm passing username and password. So what is the return type of this validate user? It is a string.
Yeah.
Okay. See, in this case, I have taken out the business logic from servlet. Okay. So now I have a model which will have the business logic. Basically, this user class, there we have validate user. Here we have written the business logic. So after validation, it will send either true or false, right?
Yes.
The same thing we had added here. So if the user is a valid one, it will send a true. If it is an invalid user, it will send false.
Okay.
The flow is same, but we have taken out that business logic from the servlet. So now in this case, so what is controller and what is model and what is view?
So login.jsp, welcome.jsp is the view. Login servlet is the controller and user.java is the model.
Right. Just I'm adding some print statements to identify whether our model is working or not. So any questions up to this?
No, Satya.
See, from where we are getting this valid user message? From
Yeah.
model.
Yeah.
From model. So in this example, we segregated the responsibilities, right?
Yes.
So model user is a class, is a Java class where I have written business logic. Okay, this login servlet, what it is doing? What is the responsibility of this login servlet? It is just controlling. It is just controlling the flow. Okay, from this servlet, see within this do post method, we are just reading information from login.jsp from view part. Okay, and this servlet transmitting that username and password to model object, that is user. So user model object, it is validating the user. Actually, it has the business logic to validate the user. It is validating the user. If the user is a valid user, it is sending response to, irrespective of valid or invalid, it is sending some response to servlet, login servlet. Again, the servlet, login servlet deciding if it is a valid user, the request should go to welcome.jsp. If it is an invalid user, the request should go to login.jsp. So basically this login servlet acting as a controller. It is transmitting the data between view to model and model to view. It is just controlling the data. It is not doing any other, it is not executing any other business logic. It is just transmitting the data. Right?
Yes.
So now this is a perfect web application. We implemented MVC, right?
Yeah.
So we segregated view part separately. We segregated business logic separately, and we defined the controller and the responsibilities of controller. Everything we defined within this web application, right?
Yes. Yes.
So now you tell me, what are the advantages of using MVC?
Not writing all the code in the same part.
Right, right. That is one advantage. So as we are segregating the responsibilities, in future, if I want to change some business logic, so which class I need to change?
Only user.java.
Yes, only user.java.
Yeah.
Right? So it simplifies the coding efforts.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
And flow.
Yeah.
That is one advantage, right?
Yeah.
So this is how we implement MVC in a typical web application. So actually, there are different frameworks. Each application, each framework has its own structure to implement MVC. But this is a plain and simple web application with MVC. Any questions up to this?
No, Satya.
Okay. So actually our intention is to discuss about JSPs, right?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. So actually in this application, what I did, I have added only HTML code. I did not define anything. Sorry. I just added some HTML code. Sorry. See, I have added only HTML code. So within this servlet, we did not define anything. Okay, but basically, what is this JSP page? JSP page is nothing but a replica of servlet. Okay, so Sun Microsystem implemented JSP technology as an alternative to servlets. So if it is a servlet, so if I want to write the same thing here in servlet, what I have to do? I need to define everything, right? Depending on the method we are going to use, we need to implement that method. Within that method, we need to define response object, print writer, and we need to add some out.println statement, whatever I want to display in the browser, right? So we need to implement everything. So in that case, if I want to add this information, this login.jsp information, so what happened? Again, I need to add this entire code in under do post method by using out.println, right?
Yeah.
So Sun Microsystem implemented this JSP technology as an alternative to servlet. So that basically where we execute this web application within the web container, right? So that web container, it will convert this JSP to a servlet, then it execute that servlet. Okay. So whenever we execute, whenever we send a request to this JSP, see in this case, we are sending request to login.jsp, right?
Yes.
So whenever we send a request to this login.jsp, so in this case, our web container is Tomcat, Apache Tomcat. So this Apache Tomcat will convert this login.jsp to a servlet. Okay. After converting the servlet into JSP into a servlet, then it execute that servlet. Understood?
Yeah.
Basically, JSP is nothing but a servlet.
Okay.
Though we define this application as a JSP, our Tomcat will convert this JSP as a servlet and then it will execute that servlet. So if you want evidence, I can show you that.
Can I get this code, Satya?
Yes, I will send. See, for my Eclipse, I have defined some workspace. So Eclipse workspace is my workspace. So here we have metadata. Under plugins, we'll have some server core, something like this. Let me open that.
It's available down. JSC server code, right?
Yes, this one. So temp. This is our project, right?
Yes.
So here we have some JSPs. What I said, our Apache Tomcat will convert whatever the JSP we defined, that JSP into a servlet. See, actually we haven't defined any class, right? Login underscore JSP.java. We haven't defined this class.
Yes.
See, did we define any class? Under Java, we have only user.java, login servlet, welcome servlet, but we don't have login underscore JSP.java. But this web container, it is converting our JSP into a servlet.
Yeah.
See. So if you want to add this code, whatever we defined here within this login.jsp, see, here we have added only 6 lines.
Yes.
See, all these 6 lines to add it to out.write. So in servlet, while discussing about servlet, we have defined forms in the same way, right?
Yeah.
The same way, this web container converting our JSP into a servlet, and it is executing the same servlet. Clear?
Okay.
So what is the advantage of using JSP? Now you tell me. JSP is nothing but servlet. Okay. To simplify the coding, Sun Microsystem implemented JSP as an alternative to servlet. Okay. See, here we have added only 6 lines, but when it converted to a servlet, see how many lines of code it has.
Reduce the number of coding, yeah.
But actually in JSP, we have only 6 lines. But here,
okay,
how many lines are there?
More number of lines.
Right. So to simplify the coding, okay, and to keep this application as a portable, Sun Microsystem implemented JSP as an alternative to servlet. Clear?
Okay.
See, in this servlet, we just added 6 lines. So these 6 lines are some HTML code. Some form data is simple HTML code. So whatever we add directly here, this part we can call as a template string. Okay. So whatever you add here, the same thing will be added to out.print print statement or out.write statement. Whatever you write as part of template string, the same data would be added to out.write or out.print. Okay. We call that data as a template string.
Okay.
Right. And as I said, JSP is an alternative to servlet. But if it is a servlet, see, if it is a servlet, there we can define variables, there we can add some business logic. But how to add this information in JSP? Right? So here we have added simple HTML code to display the form. But JSP is an alternative to servlet. If it is a servlet, we can add the code as per our requirement. We can define variables, we can add some business logic, everything we can do. But how to add that information in JSPs? Okay, so to add that information in JSPs, this Sun Microsystem, they have different tags. Okay, we can add different tags within JSPs. We can, if you want to declare any variables, you can use declaration tag. Okay. And if you want to use any expressions, any piece of code you want to add, you can use expression. And directives, scriptlets, action tags. These are the different tags supported by a JSP. Okay. See, we'll use same application. No. See, here we have welcome.jsp, right? Welcome.jsp. So after successful execution, after successful validation of the user, we are displaying some note, a welcome note to user, right? That is welcome to JSP programming. So if you observe this code, see, using this request.get request dispatcher, am I sending any user information to welcome.jsp?
Oh,
Did I send any username here?
no.
No. So how I transmitting that username to welcome.jsp, but welcome.jsp is printing username. Welcome to JSP programming Satya. It is printing something like that. But did I send that information to welcome.jsp here?
No.
No. To transmit the data, what I did here, I used one session. In the session, I'm adding username and password. Basically, we don't add passwords in session to keep application secure. We don't add, but it is its demo class. I'm adding password also. So to store username, what I'm doing, I'm using HTTP session. We discussed about HTTP session in previous session, right? So
Yes.
using HTTP session, I'm setting one attribute that is username. Okay. And welcome.jsp. Here, I want to read this session information. See, session.get attribute. This is how we read session information, right?
Okay.
But if I add this code directly here as a template string, the same statement would be added to out.println. In that case, it directly displays this statement.
Yes.
Instead of reading the username, what it does, it will
display.
directly add this information to write that println or sorry, out.write. So I have added this logic within these two tags.
Okay.
Within these two tags, it is a scriptlet. If we write anything in between these two tags, we can call that information as a scriptlet. Whatever we add within these two tags, that is a scriptlet information, scriptlet block. Clear? See, using this business Java code string username, I'm reading user information. Actually, this information is available within the session, so I'm using session.get attribute. So using get attribute, I'm reading username. So where did we set this session information? Within login.servlet. You are aware how to write this information to a session. You are aware, right? So within the servlet, within the JSP, I'm reading session information. Okay. After reading this information, again, what I'm doing here, see what I'm doing here. I'm using Java Bean, com.test.user. Okay. So using this, actually, this is action tag. Okay. This is action tag at JSDL, Java Standard Tag Library. That is a big topic. We can't cover that one in today's session. Actually, it is a big topic. So on high level, I'll explain what is a tag library or action tags. Okay. So using JSP.useBean, basically com.test.user. This is a Java application, Java program. Basically, it is a modal part. So I'm calling that Java class here using useBean. To this useBean, what I'm doing, using set property, I'm setting username and password. Okay. And from where I read this username and password, using using session. From session, I'm reading this information. Now I want to set this information to set property. This user.java. For this setters and getters, I want to set that information. So further, I'm using this statement. See, here we don't have equals to, but in this case, we have equals to. Okay. So without equals to, it is a scriptlet. Okay. In this case, I'm assigning this variable data to our property. To set that value, to assign that value, I'm using this tag. Okay.
Okay.
Less than, percentage, equals to. This is expression. Okay. In this case, it is a scriptlet, but this is expression. Why do you use this expression? To assign any values to a variable, we use expressions. Okay. And to write any business logic or Java code, for that we use scriptlet. Clear?
Okay.
Now, using set property, JSP.set property, we set username and password. See, after that, using JSP.get property, I'm reading property value. Using these three statements, we defined model object. To that model object, we sent username and password. Okay.
Okay.
And from that model object, again, I'm reading that username. Now, this is a template string. To this template string, I'm adding username.
Okay.
Any confusion? Are you able to follow?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, this username is, we are not directly sending this information to welcome.jsp. To send that information, what we are following here, we are adding username to session. And I want to read session information in JSP. So for that, I need to add some Java code, right? To add that Java code, what I did, I used one scriptlet. Okay, using scriptlet, I'm reading session information.
Okay.
Okay, and using JSTL action tags, I defined one JSP.useBean. To this useBean, I am passing model class com.test.user. Okay, as it is a Java bean, it supports some setters and getter methods. So using setter method, I'm passing username. Again, using getter method, I'm reading user details. And how to read setters and getters. This is the way, using action tags, we can call any model object, any setter methods and getter methods using action tags. So to use action tags, this is the way we can define in JSPs.
Okay.
Clear? So within the same JSP, what we are defined? We define template string. Welcome to JSP programming. This is template string. And within the same servlet, within the same JSP, we defined scriptlet to read session information. And within the same JSP, we defined action tag, right? And within the same JSP, we defined expression. Clear?
Yes.
So along with this, so in the same servlet, in the same JSP, we used action tag, we used scriptlet, and we used expression, right?
Yes.
And we are discussing to define any variables, we can use declaration tag. So as we used direct scriptlet, there we defined variables and we read session information within the same scriptlet. In case if you want to define variables separately, in that case, this is the tag we use. String username. This is how we declare variables.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
try to execute this one. Any questions up to this?
No, Satya.
See, so we changed this logic and we use declarative tag to define variables. So within scriptlet, we use the defined variable names. But earlier case using scriptlet, we directly define variable and we directly read the information from session. But in this case, we used some declarative tags to define variables. Okay,
Okay.
so almost all JSP tags we used here, except directives.
Okay.
Okay. So any questions?
No, Satya.
Clear, right?
Yes.
So what is directive? Directive tag. So if you observe this JSP along with welcome note, I want to display date and time. So how do you display date and time? Using java.util class, we can get date and time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here I'm defining one variable, date. This is the variable. But actually this date is available within java.util package. If I directly add this statement here, it is giving some error. That means this JSP is unable to locate this java.util.date class. So as it is unable to locate this file, what I have to do, I need to import that package. To import that package, what we do, we use this directive tag.
Okay.
Java.util.star.
L is missing.
One is missing.
L.
Okay. Yes. See, after adding this import statement, this error, compilation error is gone.
Yes.
Okay. Now I can use this one. Oh, see, date equals to new date. And now I want to display this information. Now you tell me how can I display this date information? Which tag I have to use? Tell me which tag.
Scriptlet.
No.
Okay.
What
Expression.
is, yes.
Expression.
Now we try to run this application. See, now we are able to display date.
Okay.
Okay. So now within the same JSP, we have used almost every component of JSP. We used declarative tag, right? We used directive. Okay. So basically, this directive support some other attributes also, something like page language, page extents. So if in case if you want to extend your class to any other class, in that case, you can go with the page extend and a page buffer auto. There are many other things, page error, page import. So within this short time, it's not possible to cover all these things. So whenever
Okay.
you get some time, just go through these concepts. Okay.
Okay.
And within the same JSP, we used expressions. Same JSP, again, we used scriptlet. Okay.
Okay.
So the same JSP, we defined everything.
Okay.
Clear?
Clear.
So how MVC works in a typical web application, that thing we have seen while talking about request dispatcher, and we defined some controller and a model, and we defined view part also. And for the viewing part, we defined JSPs. Okay, within the JSPs, we have added some business logic, some declarative tags, and we define some variables and action tags. Okay, using JSP.useBean, we are calling some model object. Okay, to this model object, we are passing some information using setter method and getter method.
Yeah.
So any questions?
No, no, Satya.
Okay. Now we need to talk about some implicit objects. Okay, implicit objects. So basically, while talking about servlet, we were discussing about different objects available in web application, right? Request object, response object, session object, servlet config, servlet context, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we want to use those objects in servlet, we need to define some variables, right?
Yes.
See, take this one. Here we are calling JSP service. Okay, to use this request object within the JSP service method, we defined HTTP request, HTTP servlet request. Similarly, we defined HTTP servlet response. We defined the variables here, right? Similarly, within this login servlet, I want to use HTTP session. Again, what I did, I defined HTTP session variable.
Yes.
I define this variable. Within this variable, I am reading the instance of session. Similarly, I define some dispatcher. So I want to use all these components. That's why I define variables. But coming to the JSPs, you need not to define those variables. Okay.
Okay.
When you write a program in JSP, you need not to write any. You need not to define those variables. Let's take our welcome.jsp. See here, I used one scriptlet. Okay. Within the scriptlet, I am directly calling session.get attribute. Did I define the session object? Did I define
No.
the session variable anywhere?
No.
Nowhere. Nowhere I define this session variable. How it is working then? If it is a servlet, we are defining some variables. Within the variable, we are getting the instance of particular object. But in JSP, I directly define one scriptlet. So within the scriptlet, instead of defining this variable, I'm directly calling session.getAttribute. How this variable is available to this JSP? How this object is available to JSP? Did you get that question while I explain this one?
No.
Huh?
I didn't
Okay. So within the JSP, we have some set of implicit objects. Implicit object. That means these are already available to the JSP. Need not to define those variables separately. Okay. So those are implicit objects. What are the implicit objects? Request, response, session, out. These are implicit objects. So as it is already available to the JSP, no need to define this variable again. That's why in this example, I directly calling session.getAttribute because this is already available for me.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the implicit objects. These objects we can use without defining those objects. If it is a servlet, obviously you have to define variables. Okay. But for JSP, you need not to define these variables. Without defining these variables, you can directly use them. Okay. So these already predefined objects, Sun Microsystem named them as implicit objects because these are already available to JSP.
Okay.
Okay. Page content, config, application. So in servlet, we were talking, we discussed about servlet config and servlet context, right?
Yeah.
So this is a config object that is nothing but servlet config. But here you can't see context object, servlet context object. So servlet context object, they named as application.
Yeah.
Okay. So the similar type is servlet context. I have javax.servlet, http.servlet context. Okay. They renamed this servlet context as application. So if it is a servlet, we are defining some print writer out, right? We are defining this object, right? Print writer out equals to response.get writer, something like that we are writing, right? In servlet.
Yeah.
See. So if it is a servlet JSP, you need not to define the statement. You can directly use out.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the implicit objects available in JSP: request, response, out, session, page, content, application, config, page, exception. These are the implicit objects.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes.
On high level, I'll talk about JSTLs. So if you discuss JSTL, again, it would be a big topic.
Okay.
So in this case, if you observe this example, so I used useBean to read one Java class. Okay. So basically the purpose of JSP is to reduce the coding part.
Okay.
Right. Simplify the process. Main intention is to reduce the coding part.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in case if you want to use any JDBC related classes in your application, okay.
Okay.
So if you don't have any predefined tag libraries, what you have to do within the scriptlet, again, you have to write entire JDBC connection and entire code to read to pass query to JDBC and to read the information from JDBC and result set. You need to write the code related to JDBC, right?
Yeah.
To simplify that coding part, what this Sun Microsystem does, they define one tag library. Okay, that tag library will have some predefined classes, something like this. So in this case, we define the class, but within the tag library, they define the some API to interact with database directly from JSP. Okay, so instead of writing that entire code within the scriptlet, you can directly use JDBC classes, something like this. Okay, for that, first you need to import the tag library. To import the tag library, see, this is how you can import the tag library. Tag library is nothing but a predefined API implemented for a particular reason. If it is a JDBC database, you can import database related tag library. Okay, using the prefix, you can call corresponding action or class. Actually, we don't have much time, and it is a huge topic. Just I'm giving overview how to use JSTL.
Okay.
Anyhow, that JSTL is outdated one for now. Don't worry much about it. See, if you observe this example, so they define one tag library. Okay, that tag library is available within tags.tld. Okay, if it is a tag library, we need to rename. We need to define that as a .tld file. So this tags basically it has API based on the requirement. There are many tag libraries. Some depending on enterprise requirement, they will define tag libraries. So in this case, they define one sample tag. The prefix, they want to use this tag library using this prefix welcome. Okay, and they want to import the tag library. So that's why they are using directives. Using tag lib directives, we can define tag libraries that we are going to import. So in this case, you need to pass the URL. Okay. So here it is within webinf directory. That's why they have mentioned like this webinf/tags.dld, and they want to use this tag library using the prefix name welcome. Okay. Now see, welcome dot some message. Okay, this is the class name and some attribute value from Siva and to Raman. So they have implemented some code, something like that. So here the sender is Siva and receiver is Raman, and the message is hi. Okay. So here they used prefix this one tag library imported using this syntax, and using this welcome prefix, they're passing attribute information, sender, receiver, and message. Okay. Here in this case, we used JSP as a prefix, but did we define this one? Did we import JSP? Did we define? No, because this is already available. This is predefined in JSP technology. That's why without declaring this tag library, we are using it. But if it is a custom one, a third party implemented tag library, basically this is the process to import the tag library.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay.
So after, this Spring technology, so most of the applications stopped using tag libraries. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are interested, you can learn, but as we have time constraint, I'm not going to explain this tag libraries in detail.
Okay.
Okay. Similarly, if you want to define any comments within the JSPs, so using this tag, you can define comments.
Okay.
Okay. So within JSPs, we have a mechanism to define error page. If something went wrong, so you can directly pass the control to error page. So if you want to pass that information, display the error page, this is how you can define error pages. Okay. If any exception occur, directly it will redirect your application to error page.
Okay.
So mainly I wanted to explain MVC and different parts of JSPs and the JSP implicit objects and high level the tag libraries. Anyhow, I explained the Java Bean, how to use Java Bean using directive, JSP directive, right?
Yes.
And session we already covered. Yeah, tell me if you want to define any cookies within your JSPs, how do you write that one? Where do you define this cookie?
You're asking about the tag.
Which tag? Tag is
Expression.
correct answer.
Yeah.
Expression. Expression is to assign any value to a variable.
Okay. Then it should be scriptlet.
Yes. Yes. Scriptlet is correct answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So mainly if it is for interviews, they may ask about implicit objects.
Okay.
Okay. So what are the different implicit objects?
Okay.
May get some questions related to this one and some questions related to directives, how to use these directives and expressions and how to define these error pages and the use of how to use Java beans. So in internet, you may get n number of interview related questions.
Okay.
Okay. Did I miss anything?
That's
And the
okay.
JSP conversion thing I explained and I showed you the code also. So any questions for me?
Yeah.
Oh.
It will be great if you share the code. This the
Demo
skeleton.
JSP?
Yeah. No, this
Okay.
whole, the user.java login servlet so that I can just do some examples and see.
Sure. I'll share this complete project. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's it from my end. So if you have any questions, let me know. Later also, if you have any questions, you can directly reach out to me on my email ID, bsatya01@gmail.com.
Can you give me? Sorry, I didn't follow that mail ID.
This is my Gmail ID.
Okay.
I hope this example is interesting and helpful.
Yes, Satya. I need the code and all.
Sure, I'll share. So, Nandini, what is the process to share this code? Nandini is not available.
Yeah, thank you, Satya. Thanks.
Yeah, Nandini, actually Kaveri want this application, this entire code. So how can we share this code to Kaveri? What is
Can
the
you send
process?
me? I can send it out to everyone.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Nandini.
Thank you,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.